ladies, welcome back to my channel. It's your host London Lamborghini, and today I'm back at it again with another video, and this video is a juicy video spilling all the tea on how marriage is comparable to slavery. We have an awesome TikToker who's gonna break it all down for you today. Her name is Abby Echo, and she makes marriage content on TikTok about how she has an equal partner and exposing how marriages can oftentimes become unequal partnerships where the woman has to bear all of the burden. So without further ado, let's get into this video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
It's never about the dirty sock on the floor instead of the hamper, or the cup on the counter instead of the dishwasher. It's never about those trivial things. It's about everything they represent, which is simply, I don't care enough about you. Because if they did, the socks would be in the hamper, and the cup would be in the dishwasher, and the clothes would be in the dryer instead of still in the washer. Men love to gaslight us into believing the things that we're asking for are trivial, that they don't have validity, that our anger and upset are unjustified. Because what men don't want you to realize is that continuously disregarding those trivial requests is actually a very conscious effort to not choose you. It's a very conscious effort to push and overstep your boundaries so that they can go on to push and overstep bigger boundaries. And the more that they can convince you that the trivial things you're asking for are too much, it makes it that much easier to gaslight you into believing the bigger things are also just as trivial. His coworker texting him late at night after hours. Trivial. Why are you being so insecure? We work together. I'm not calling or texting you the entire time he's out with his friends, not coming home until 4 a.m. when he promised it wouldn't take longer than midnight. Why are you being so controlling? Stop blowing this out of proportion. Once they can gaslight you into believing that something like socks on the floor instead of the hamper is trivial, they can convince you of the bigger things also being trivial. Your husband's not going to change, and here's why. This is going to sound harsh, but I think a lot of people actually just really need to hear the truth. And it's because he doesn't care. It doesn't benefit him to change. Approaching your husband again to discuss an issue, whether it's household inequity, you not feeling considered, you not feeling like he's putting any time and effort into it, is likely going to fall on deaf ears. Because he's been exploiting your time, your labor, your energy. And if he didn't care when he started doing it, he's not going to care now. Because this likely isn't the first time that you've approached him with an issue. This isn't the first time you've tried to explain your needs to him or how you feel unsupported. If he didn't hear you out, listen, learn, and change the very first time you brought these issues up to him, it's not going to happen now. And this goes for all aspects. If you bring up an issue to him and he either says that you're holding him to an unfair standard or he's gaslighting you about minimizing your emotions, it's because he doesn't care and it doesn't benefit him to change. And there's no consequence when he doesn't. Because there's no consequence if he doesn't change. Eventually, things are going to go back to how they were. You're going to stop nagging him and he's going to be fine with it until you bring it up again. And then again, nothing happens because there's no consequences. So why would he want to change? It's like with kids. You can threaten and ask and threaten and ask and threaten and ask, but the second you don't follow through with it, they know that they can get away with it because there's no consequences for it. I'm not saying you should threaten to leave and upend your marriage at the very first sign of something going wrong, but if he doesn't change the first time you bring it up, he doesn't care and it's not going to change. I often have women come to me and ask me for recommendations of books or things that they can do to help their marriage or help reconnect with their partner. And I had a woman ask me the other day the same thing. Do you have any book recommendations? They're in couples counseling right now. And because her husband is diminishing her and minimizing her feelings and emotions and then having angry outbursts at her when she brings them up. So I asked her the same thing. Do you think if he cared you would be in this position? That 8 months into therapy, you're seeing only small changes? Those are those breadcrumbs I talk about. Those are those small changes that they give you to make you think that things are changing and they're better off than where they were, which still isn't good enough. So I asked her, do you really think he cares? If you were in this position right now, after asking for so long, do you truly think he cares? And she said, he's been making small changes, so she has hope. And I said, then you task him with finding a book. It should not be your responsibility. And I also bet that she is the one that found the couples counselor because he's still benefiting from everything, even when he's working on things. because they're just pacifying you for that moment. They're not actually going to make meaningful change. They're there to pacify you for the time being until they can keep going and giving you slivers of hope until you initially realize that things aren't actually going to change. You shouldn't have to bring issues up to your partner more than once or twice for them to listen, learn, and change. Because if you do, they simply don't care. I want to talk about the mental load of training your husband to become a more active and equal participant in your home. Anytime I discuss the domestic labor and the childcare that my husband and I divide, I inevitably get the question of how did you train him? How did you teach him to do these things? And while I talk a lot and advocate for the fair play method on here, that tends to overlook the mental labor that goes into even finding that method and then attempting to implement that method. So it's doing the research of how best to even approach your partner to becoming a more active and equal participant in your home. Then it's finding the best approach for making the division of labor more equitable. Spreadsheets, cards, charts, whatever avenue you guys decide to do, that's a piece of the mental labor. Scheduling the check-ins to make sure that things are going well, to monitor the progress of how the new system is going. If you need to swap cards or swap tasks, you're doing that as well. Then it's the emotional labor. Both people are going to feel this. It's the emotional labor of the disagreements and the arguments that will inevitably happen when it comes to implementing this new system, especially early on. Then it's revisiting if the system is working. Are there other ways that we can do this? Researching new and different ways to explain and teach your partner how to be more involved, which is another thing. When it comes time to do the task handoff, you have been the sole owner of that task. You have had all of the mental teachings and learnings of what you have come to find out about what it means to complete that task. Now you are having to take all of that and transferring it to your partner, whether you decide to go with your standard of care or you sit down and you come up together with a minimum standard of care. You will want to try to help your partner out by teaching them things that you have learned in the time that you have been the owner of that task in order for it to be completed. And that is a massive mental load that women are carrying just to get their husbands to come to the table, to even try to get them to be more active and equal participants in the home. And I think that gets overlooked a lot in the conversation of how to more equally divide the labor in your home.
Where is the obsession with a man doing dishes and domestic things coming from? Why are women so obsessed with a man showing love to them by doing domestic things? Why is that exciting? Why does that get women revved up and turned on?
I'm so glad you asked. Here's a couple examples. 62% of moms, so they have less than 1 hour to themselves each day. Could you guess why? Because women spend on average 100 hours more per year on household chores than men. That's equivalent to 2.5 work weeks. Women have been shouldering the burden of domestic labor for far too long. I noticed in the caption of that video, it said, "Why are women obsessed with feminizing men?" This idea that domestic labor is feminine is not biological, it is societal, and it's specifically societal to Western society. Doing care tasks and domestic labor is not inherently feminine. American society specifically has made it out to be. Did you know that unpaid labor of women and girls contributes about $10.8 trillion per year to the global economy? Not only do men benefit from the free domestic labor that women provide, but the global economy has benefited for centuries from it. It's not necessarily that women get revved up, that women get turned on by it. It's that women feel appreciated, they feel respected when their partner participates equally in sharing the domestic labor. Not to mention the fact that the majority of households are dual income, yet still women are expected and still do shoulder the majority of the domestic and childcare labor. Even when women are the breadwinners, they're still doing more. Even if their husbands are unemployed, they're still doing more. It doesn't matter their job status. It doesn't matter their husband's job status women are still doing more domestic labor than men, and it's burning them out. It's causing them anxiety. It's causing them depression. Women aren't obsessed with feminizing men. Women are obsessed with equality. Women are simply tired of doing it all and being expected to do it all, and then being expected to find their partner sexually attractive. And it's not just the dishes. It's not just the cooking. It's not just the cleaning. It's the invisible labor. It's the mental labor. It's that constant list being kept in your head that men get the luxury of not having to keep track of, because women have forever shouldered that burden. And now they're simply tired of it. So they're not obsessed with men doing dishes. They're simply asking for equality. They're simply asking for equal and active participation in their partnership, in their relationship, in their marriage. If a woman tells me she's getting a divorce, I'm going to say congratulations. And here's why. Because I know that this decision was not made in haste. That she has tried everything to make it work. Over the last couple days, I've talked to hundreds of thousands of women, and I've asked them, how long was it between when you emotionally checked out of your marriage to when you filed for divorce? And what was happening in between that time? And the average was 3 to 5 years of emotionally checking out before actually filing for divorce. So women don't just wake up on a random Wednesday morning and decide, you know what, I'm going to divorce my husband today. Because happy women don't leave good marriages. Happy women don't leave good husbands. Women that feel supported, women that feel safe, women that feel acknowledged, women that feel happy and loved and validated, those women aren't leaving good marriages and good husbands. The women I've talked to said that they tried and tried and tried. A lot of them said that if they thought they just worked on themselves a little bit more, they made themselves more available, they did more therapy, they tried being, more available. They tried and tried and tried to work on themselves in hopes that it would make things better in their marriage, but it didn't. It wasn't like they weren't putting forth the effort. In a 3 to 5 year amount of time, they were trying everything under the sun. They were doing individual therapy. They were trying to get their husbands in couples therapy. They talked to them. They communicated this way, that way, and the other, and they still went unhurt. I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think that men know their wives are unhappy because they've been communicated to. They've been talked to. The women have tried explaining to them how they're feeling, what they need from their partner. And I think the men simply don't care because I don't think that they ever believe that their wife will leave them. Because a lot of them are stay-at-home moms. A lot of them have no financial means to actually leave. And therefore, men just assume that they're going to be comfortable and complicit. And that women actually won't do it. And that's why we hear so many stories of men being blindsided when their wives ask for a divorce. It's not that they didn't know their wives weren't happy. They knew. They just didn't actually ever think that she would pull the trigger and leave. This is also why so many more women are filing for divorce than men. Because men can stay. Men can stay because they're still benefiting. Because especially if they have kids, the wife is still stepping up and caring for the house. She's caring for the kids. So why would a man want to leave? Why would a man want to go and get a divorce when he can just say, yeah, you might be unhappy, but I'm still benefiting from everything. And then they weaponize their support because they know that they can. So the next time a man says to you that women are tearing their families apart because they randomly woke up and decided that they wanted a divorce, send them this video. Women are entitled to want to be something outside of just wives and mothers, and that doesn't make them selfish. Women leave unhappy marriages and relationships because it's no longer serving them. And if you deem that to be selfish, it's because it no longer benefits you if they leave. Everybody deserves to be happy, and nobody should have to compromise their happiness in order to stay in a relationship for the sake of the other person, whether that's man or woman, wife or husband. Women aren't ending their marriages because they want to pretend like they're not wives and mothers. It's because they're no longer getting fulfillment. They're no longer witnessing an equal participant in their home, and they're tired of being the only one carrying that labor. They're tired of treating their husband like children because they refuse to be active and equal participants in their home. If women just wanted men to take care of them, they would stay in unhappy relationships. But did you know that men are more likely to stay in unhappy relationships and marriages than women are? That's why the majority of divorces are filed by women, because they are no longer going to sit here and put up with it. Men say things like this to women because they want them to stay, because they're benefiting from their wife staying in that relationship with them, and they would lose a lot of their free domestic labor, mental labor, invisible labor, if they choose to get divorced and leave. But they're not leaving because they no longer want to be mothers. They might be leaving because they no longer want to be wives, but not because they don't want to be mothers, or at least not their husbands.
Listen, some of y'all ladies gonna have to settle. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but
when women settle, women flounder and men flourish. Men benefit exponentially from being in marriages and relationships with women, by having children with women. Women cannot say the same. In fact, their lives are more negatively impacted by marrying men and having children. Women are having longer, happier, healthier lives when they are remaining single and childless than ever before. They are not reliant on a man's financial means in order to live a life that they want, or that they find meaning in, or that they find purpose in. The same cannot be said for men. Men are experiencing a loneliness epidemic because, one, they don't have healthy, meaningful platonic relationships with their male friends. They are relying on women to get everything out of it for them. They are relying on their relationship with a woman to fulfill almost every single aspect of their life. And women don't have to have that. Not only do they not have to rely financially on a man, they also don't rely on that man to fulfill other needs that they have. They have meaningful and deep and purposeful friendships. Men cannot say the same. This is not 50, 60 years ago when women couldn't vote, women couldn't open up their own line of credit, women couldn't file for divorce. More women are college educated than men now, and they have their own financial means to live the life that they want. You don't have to have a marriage and children in order to lead a fulfilling and meaningful, worthy life. It's detrimental if they settle. Men fare better in almost every single aspect when they marry a woman and have children with her, and the opposite is said for women. The juice simply is not worth the squeeze anymore. Women are not getting the same things out of marriage that men are getting. They're no longer willing to settle. They're realizing that they don't have to do that, and they're knowing that if they do, it negatively impacts them in almost every single aspect of their life.
Yes, let me know what you think in the comments section. Are you married? Do you have plans to be married? And have these videos changed your perception about marriage? Spill all the tea in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for staying until the end of the video. Thank you so much to all my new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, it's absolutely free to subscribe. You'll be supporting an unemployed autistic adult and assisting me in building a remote career and an online career. And I would greatly appreciate you so much. And remember to tune back in every single day for a brand new video, and see you in the next one.